All right, welcome back to Beyond the Line of Scrimmage. I'm your host, Minx, here joined by my partner, good old Coach Boar, the GOAT. Guys, we got ourselves Week 12 reactions today. We've got some playoff implications from those matchups. We got the rankings coming out tonight. We're going to do a part 2 on this probably later tonight. It's going to be in the same episode. And then we've got some Heisman discussion to go through. Guys, without further ado, send it off to Coach Boar, see what he's got to say.
Guys, we have a lot to talk about. Colorado, Utah, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas, Clemson, Pitt. I mean, these are all games that, really close games, aside from Colorado, Utah. That game got out of hand. We're going to start with that one first. Colorado cruises past Utah, 49-24. I really thought this game started slow. I thought it had potential to be an upset here. Upset being Utah, even though we had Utah winning the Big 12 at the beginning of the year. They have now lost, I believe, 6 straight. They are falling off a cliff as their starting quarterback, Cam Rising, has been out for the year. Isaac Wilson, not too bad. He's the brother of Zach Wilson, the Broncos' backup quarterback. Probably had his best half of football in the second half of this game. They made it like a 2-score game, and then all of a sudden, Colorado scores again, and it's out of hand. I had some keynotes from this game. This was probably the 11 a.m. kick that I watched the most. I think really the story of this game would have to be Colorado's defensive improvement. Their line actually leads the Big 12 in sacks compared to last year. I don't know if you remember last year, they were getting ran over on both the offensive side of the ball and defensive side. As we talked about this past offseason, their offensive line and defensive line got some buffs. They've been really good this season. I believe he's a defensive assistant. He's Warren Sapp. Okay. NFL legend, Warren Sapp. He's been improving that defense, obviously. What else do I have? Shedeur Sanders, Timothy, might be the best quarterback in college football, I believe. Cam Ward's kind of slipped a little bit. I have down here that he went 11 for 12 passing on one drive. That is insane. First of all, 12 passes on one drive. You somehow managed to sustain a drive for 12 passes. And then you managed to complete 11 of those 12. I believe that was on the drive that Travis Hunter made that one crazy catch. Another stat that I have, -4 yards rushing in the first half. That is probably the biggest concern if you're Colorado, if you want to move in this college football playoff. If your rushing game sucks, that means your management of the game sucks. No offense to Shedeur Sanders, but scrambling like Lamar Jackson all game isn't going to get it done. Teams like Ohio State, teams like Oregon, Penn State, those teams play defense. The Big 12, no disrespect, but you guys haven't played defense in forever. That's my major takeaway. I don't know, did you watch any of this game?
I caught glimpses of the game. I saw Travis's pick. I saw his catch. I just saw him blowing him out. I mean, this game went really as expected. Utah, all right defense. You might have expected something to come out of that. Yeah. But the offense, just you knew it was never going to keep up with what Colorado had going.
Barring, obviously, a game we didn't talk about, BYU, Kansas. I think this puts Colorado in prime position to be locked in or almost locked in to the Big 12 championship game. Another team that we have not talked about, I don't even think we've mentioned the name of this team on this show before. Arizona State. They actually have a chance to be in the Big 12 championship. If you remember, before the season started, they did a media poll on the coaches in the Big 12. Dion was 15 and Kenny Dillingham was 16. And these coaches are now in the prime position to be in the Big 12 championship game. Like I said, they had this game like within 2 scores for most of the game, and then all of a sudden it's throw a pick, and then it's just basically over from there. The offense didn't play that well, to be honest. I thought they started slow as mostly the defense, and they still somehow put up 49 points. If you're Colorado, I think that's a good sign. Like I said, the only concern for me is the rushing game. Going against the Big Ten teams or the SEC teams, you're going to have to run the ball, okay? This isn't the Heisman show where you can scramble around and throw it. Even though you do have some dudes that can absolutely go get the ball. Here's a name that I like. He was previously at FAU, LeJontay Webster. This kid is a rocket. He's the one that actually had the punt return touchdown but he, being that Jimmy Horn, their number 2 wide receiver, is out this game, he was the guy that stepped in. He's electric. I mean, in every way, shape, and form.
All right, moving on to our second game we're going to talk about. We got Oregon going into Camp Randall Stadium and squeaking out the narrow victory over Wisconsin 16-13. Now, what I said in the last episode, I had no faith in this Wisconsin team taking over the game and kind of handing it to Oregon. I said they got to keep it ugly. They got to get out and score. They just got to keep it close, give themselves an opportunity to create something. Well, we go through here. Early on, first drive, Oregon goes down and gets a field goal. Wisconsin does nothing with their offense. They get a pick, nothing. But Oregon was unable to score, and it's crazy. Wisconsin took over the lead to end the half, and that's exactly what Wisconsin did. They gave themselves something to cling on to. Give yourselves hope. They got into the situation exactly where they wanted, low scoring, holding Oregon to field goals, if that.
Yep.
I mean, Oregon only had one touchdown in this game, and that's exactly what Wisconsin needed to do. In the end, it wasn't enough. The offense it's Wisconsin offense. It's nothing that you're going to be excited about. They haven't gotten that ship sailing just yet, and as we've seen this week, they fired Phil Longo, their offense coordinator. Now they're in search of something new there, but I mean, you just look at this passing attack. Braden Locke threw the ball 28 times, completed 12 passes for 96 yards, averaging about 3.5 a pop there. I mean, that's not going to win you a football game. And then when you go to the ground, you got 130 yards total rushing. That's not going to be a recipe to go out and win this game against Oregon with how quickly they can go down and just take over the game just like that.
Obviously, you and I kind of thought, can Wisconsin even hang with this team? I remember I had mentioned, if this was the old Wisconsin, I feel like there's a chance here because of the way they run the ball. To be fair to Wisconsin, they had 6 fewer rushing yards than Oregon did. I remember catching the end of this game as I was watching Georgia, Tennessee. Wisconsin stopped Oregon on a fake field goal. Okay, so Dan Lanning, this psychopath, does a fake field goal. Okay, you're up 16-13. You do a fake field goal, like 4th and 4, and Wisconsin stops them. Okay, so Wisconsin gets the ball back. They should be driving down the field. I believe a fumble occurs or an interception. I can't remember which. That's basically the ball game. Stat of the game, I think time of possession is the only stat that matters here. 32 minutes from Oregon, 27 from Wisconsin. Okay, you lose by 3 and you lose 5 minutes of game time. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, Gabriel looks average for probably the first time this year. Okay, I think he was kind of in that Heisman conversation leading up to this game. Obviously not in the top 2. I think we know who the top 2 are now. 22 of 31, 218, and an interception. No touchdowns. You didn't have Tez Johnson this game. I believe you will for the final game of the season. Another thing that we didn't mention, this was Oregon's 8th straight game. Okay, so this is 8 straight games in a row for Oregon. I believe that might be the longest in the country. They have a bye week next week, so thank God they finally get some rest. I know others had mentioned, Josh Pate had mentioned, kind of a trap game for Oregon just because of, traveling 2 time zones. Night game, obviously Wisconsin gets lit, jump around. They were up 7. Wisconsin was up 7 at the end of the third quarter. And you come back, score a touchdown, get a field goal, you win that game. Okay, I think that was a real gut check moment for Oregon. Obviously, you'd want to beat them by more. Wisconsin not that good, but winners win. You know what I mean? They find a way to win. You don't always have to do it in your fashion. Sometimes you got to do it Wisconsin's way, which is pound the ball. They like to do the air raid offense now, but, So, fun game to watch. If it were up to me, I'd probably go Ohio State number 1 now and Oregon number 2. I know this might be a shocker. Oregon beat Ohio State by 3 earlier in the year, but I'd take it on a week-to-week basis. Okay, I think Ohio State has played better football. Ohio State has Indiana this coming week, so I guess we'll know then if they're legit or not. And moving on, we have the game of the week, Georgia, Tennessee. Georgia wins convincingly, 31-17. For me, I was kind of like 50-50 on this game. I thought Georgia was in do-or-die mode, and I thought Tennessee's defense was pretty legit, but I believe Georgia showed up. Georgia's offense showed up. Georgia's defense showed up.
You know who the most important piece that showed up was? Carson Beck. I mean, all this talk about, if he's been the right guy for this coming in since the start of the season. I mean, he had so much hype, was underperforming for the Bulldogs, and this week he just went out and made a statement, took control of this game, keeps Georgia alive in the playoffs, and honestly, I think this win right here just solidifies them into the playoffs.
I agree. I think the biggest thing was no interceptions, no
Mhm.
turnovers for Beck. He's been struggling with that a lot lately. 347 yards is kind of what you expect out of him. Oscar dealt 4 catches, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns. This Georgia offense was humming all night, aside from the first quarter. First quarter was a little scary. Okay. Tennessee goes up 10-0 in your house. How do you respond? 31-7 run by the Bulldogs. I mean, that's just what they had to do. You know what I mean? They did what they had to do. I'm still not really sold on this team winning a championship yet. Obviously, they probably have the best coach left, I would say, in the top 12. But it's what you have to do. You were in do or die mode. You had to do it. Tennessee, I was rooting for Tennessee, to be honest. Kind of hoping to see Tennessee be in the top 12. Nico, very average game, 20 of 33, 167, no touchdowns, no picks. If you're going to beat Georgia, you got to go for the kill shot. You know what I mean? You got to go for the deep bomb, the big play, and they didn't do that. Dylan Sampson, I mean, to me, he's a top 3 running back. 19 rushes, 101 yards. You can only do so much, Maybe Tennessee needs a transfer wide receiver in this offseason portal. They didn't have enough there. 4 catches, 6 catches. You know what I mean? It's just you're going to need that guy. You're going to need that dude to throw to, and I don't believe Tennessee had that. All right, our next segment here, we're actually going to get a little bit crazy because I think you and I kind of have differing opinions on this.
It's true, for the most part.
We got to talk about this Heisman race. As of last week, I had GNT being the Heisman frontrunner. Okay. This week, I believe my mindset has changed on this. What are your thoughts?
I'm someone who understands and respects both of the sides to this argument here, because I mean, you've got 2 fantastic players doing stuff that we don't see often. Ashton Genty, he's putting up video game numbers, he's putting up Heisman numbers, is what they would say. To do what he's done so far this season, consistently with the defenses that he's faced, I mean, it's just, you don't see this often, and you just got to appreciate why you have it here. I mean, coming into the season, we had so much hype coming in for him, but kind of got a little bit less love compared to, Ollie Gordon, Donovan Edwards, the stars of the show. And Ashton just kind of flew under the radar, having a great season last year, and comes in and just steals the show early on. I mean, especially that Oregon game just really, really put himself on the map. And then to continue that form that he had throughout the rest of the season, it's just insane. And then you got Travis. I mean, like I said, he's a great player on both sides of the ball. I love people talking about how he's an average at both. Like that's not the case. They talk about his stats, how many tackles he's got at corner. My brother in Christ, they ain't throwing his way for good reason. And then when you see when they do,
Yeah.
I remember this past week, Utah, they had a free play. They're like, all right, we'll test a shot. We'll test a shot. Diving interception. And then they got bailed out because it was a free play. Seeing what Travis has done, and that's elite player. And like I said, you can argue either case for either player, and I would agree with either of them. Coach, you know what you do? What do you do when the box is loaded? What is your idea as an
You throw the
offensive
ball.
coordinator? Exactly. And this dude is still averaging 5-6 yards a carry against 7-8 men in the box. So that's insane. He's got 1,900 yards, 26 touchdowns. I mean, he's averaging a touchdown every 10 carries. Like, come on, man. Come on, man.
Here, I'm going to do you one better. Okay. So, watching this game against Utah, okay, this brother is on the field for 90% of the game. 90% of the game, this guy is on the field. Not a break. Okay. You're not getting off, sitting on the bench on defense. You're not sitting on the bench on offense. Okay. He's on the field because he's an impactful player at the college level for 90% of the game. Okay. I don't even get like the numbers. Okay, that's fine. Okay, defense. Obviously, we know that he's not getting thrown to. People aren't even coming to his side of the field. Okay. We're not going to make the argument that he's like some crashing corner that smokes you, as soon as you get the ball. I mean, he's not that guy. That's not really his style. His style is more savvy, interceptions, cover the wide receiver, stuff like that. Obviously, snaps is like it's kind of a lame stat. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? But that's insane just for the fact that we have never seen that before. You said we've seen it. We haven't seen rushing numbers like that since Barry. I'm saying we haven't seen numbers like this ever. Okay. So that's my argument. I just think he took over the game against Utah. Him and Shedeur, obviously, that's kind of been the 1-2 combo for Colorado this entire time. I think most people agree. Hunter is minus 400 to win the Heisman as of now. He was plus 125 last week. Still the favorite, but he is now the emerging favorite. He might pull away with it. Obviously, we got to see something from Genty in these last few weeks.
I got one simple solution to this.
Okay.
Everyone's going to start throwing tomatoes at me. I get it. Co-Heisman. Co-Heisman. I mean, it might have to. It might have to. It's crazy because you can't even just do the pure eye test.
Yeah.
Of like, I mean, originally you think, oh, you'd go, you see all the highlights that Genty's putting up. You're like, oh, come on, man. He's got so many different Heisman moments. And then you turn on that Colorado game and you're like, oh, what just happened? You see what?
Yeah.
Like they're so similar with completely different impacts that they provide. I would not be mad with whoever wins the Heisman. I would respect it either way, just because you just gotta appreciate what you've got. And at the end of the day, it's just an award. We're here to watch ball.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some hate going either way after this one is announced, especially since co-Heisman is not a thing, and it won't be, and it shouldn't be. That's another thing going against him is people aren't watching enough Ashton Genty because he hasn't been on national TV. Colorado's on national TV every single week because the media loves Dion, and the media loves Shedeur, the media loves Travis, and obviously they're winning now, so all of a sudden the media loves them and they don't hate them, so they're still going to show them, So I don't know. That's another thing with the Heisman too. I think winning also matters. Boise State winning, Colorado winning, that matters. If Colorado is like 4-4, I think I'd probably have Genty being the leader. But Colorado's in the mix for the college football playoff, so as well as Boise State. All right. Next segment, we want to bring up a little old friend of ours, the Hurry Up. We actually came up with this segment title because this was going to be our podcast name. And I decided that there's too many podcasts named the Hurry Up. So we switched it to Beyond the Line of Scrimmage. So hopefully that stays with us. We just kind of talk about news really quickly, like scores, what we thought about the week. So if you have anything you want to say about the week or upcoming week.
Honestly, I think my favorite game this past week, that was that Clemson Pitt game. But I was just shopping around, like, I don't got anything here I want, so I pulled on my phone, checked out, oh, Clemson Pitt's up. I see Pitt go down, score, take the lead, and then as I'm walking out of the store, I just hear an interruption from my phone. Pause. Cade Klubnik, 50-yard touchdown. I mean, that was cinema. There was a couple of cinema moments, honestly, this week. Game of the week, actually, had to be South Carolina, Mizzou.
Yeah.
That was cinema. South Carolina, October extending into November. I mean, man, I love seeing South Carolina be good at football and just watching that performance coming back, doing what they did. Missouri came up, showed out. South Carolina in the end, though, just they had the aura.
I remember texting you, like, South Carolina at home when they're good is insane. Like, it's like I didn't think it was that insane until I watched it. I don't know. I don't think anybody expected South Carolina to be above average this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, I mean, who knows for next year? Obviously, transfer portal, all that stuff. But they definitely have some positive momentum building towards next year. I don't think they'll get into the playoff, even with 3 losses and momentum carrying them their way.
I
They
don't
just
think they
have
should be in there
too
either.
many miscues in the early beginning of the season. Texas, Arkansas, 20-10. Kind of a slow game, like I said, at the jump. Texas defense carries the day for me. Texas, kind of in a hot seat in terms of discussion this week because they are being compared to Indiana's schedule in terms of who they played and their strength of competition. So potentially, might be on the lookout for when they go to A&M final week of the regular season, because if they lose, all of a sudden their strength of schedule is dog juice.
If they lose to A&M, I believe their A&M is in the conference title game,
Yeah, I
which
think
is insane to
Texas
think
leads
about.
now, and then A&M potential chance to get in with a win,
I don't know
which would
what
be
the tiebreakers are, but if A&M gets in the SEC championship game, I'm out. Like that's insane. Coming in the
brother.
beginning of the season, like that's like no shot, no
I don't know
shot.
if you remember this, but remember when you were talking about A&M's offense
Yes,
at the
yes,
offseason?
yes.
You were like, "This shit is so bad. It is so trash." And all of a sudden, it's just like it's working. You
You know what
know
happened? You know what happened?
what?
Marcel Reed happened. Marcel Reed
Okay,
came in there and took over. I was
yeah,
talking about Connor Wigman. I was talking about Connor Wigman.
yeah.
I think I might have had a few good points in my notes about Marcel Reed. Like this guy's all right,
Yeah,
backup. But like I didn't see any playmakers on that team where I was impressed with what I saw, and I was just like, the
yeah.
defense is good, but the offense, I'm not so sure. Not so sure what they'll do against actual SEC opponents.
There's a plethora of 2-loss SEC teams. Okay, so we could see some shakeup. LSU lost to Florida. Um, that game was insane. The fact that Lagway comes back and all of a sudden Florida has a pulse again. I think he's going to be a dude.
Mm-hmm.
In a couple of years, he's going to be that guy. Um, I think the stat that I had at the half for me, LSU had 60 plays, Florida had 25, and it was 13-10 LSU. LSU led by 3 points with 35 more plays. That's insane. Okay, that's like a paper pop stat right there.
I remember you talking about the beginning of the year too, though, about this freshman quarterback who was just different.
Yeah,
And we were like, why are they not starting him? His name was
yeah,
DJ Lagway.
yeah. He's been good when he's on the field. Obviously, he's been hurt a little bit. LSU, I think my preseason expectations of them fell
We
off
had the
a
same
cliff.
thing. My preseason next. I did both LSU and A&M, and they were polar opposites of each other.
Yeah,
LSU had a competent looking offense, and the defense still looked trash.
yeah.
And or the defense still looked very miserable compared to what their offensive capability was. And BYU goes down to Kansas. I saw a tier list of the Big 12 or the Big 12, and Kansas is in their own um, department called terrorism. And that's what they're doing. They take down Iowa State, knock them out of
Yeah,
there. They take
yeah.
down BYU, and they got Colorado this upcoming weekend. So who knows? Who knows? That could
Bro,
if Kansas does it, man, that'll be war,
oh
man.
my
I'd love.
God.
I would honestly
Bro,
love that.
our expectations of Kansas to begin the year were like Big 12 championship.
But they're not even a bad team. Like the record, this is where you
Yeah,
get to that record. You are what your record says you are. They're not. And this team just capitulated in one score games.
yep,
Lost by 6 to Illinois. Lost by 3 to UNLV. Two top 25 teams currently ranked. Lost by 4 to West Virginia. Lost by 11 to TCU. Lost by 4 to Arizona State. Lost by 2 to Kansas State. Like, they're not a bad team in any slight. They just couldn't get the job done. They had
yeah,
the wrong side of luck all those
yes.
games, and now they're finally putting something together.
I think we got to talk about one more team.
Mm-hmm.
And that one team is a team that we only mentioned once on this show, and that was a couple minutes ago. Arizona State
Mm-hmm.
having maybe the sleeper team of the year. Okay,
I love it.
beat Mississippi State. Okay, SEC. A lot of mid there. Okay,
No one talks about that team.
yeah,
They're just kind of the kid that the parents don't talk about.
Yeah, that is true. They beat Kansas early in the year. Okay, so
Mhm.
that was one of those games we just talked about. Kansas, lost by 4 points. Lost to Cincinnati. They beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State we haven't talked about since the offseason because they've been dog water since the offseason. They beat UCF. They beat Kansas State. Last week, it was like 24-0 to start the game. Kansas State scores 2 touchdowns to come back. Obviously not enough. I think that's kind of the sleeper team of the year. I don't think anybody's talked about them except for now. Yeah, and they got BYU next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so BYU, Kansas, BYU, Arizona State, Kansas, Colorado. Both games that are going to be pretty
Huge.
important as far as
Huge for the Big
the
12.
college football playoff goes. And then Arizona State at Arizona, final week of the season. Arizona, they can get one more in them. You know what I mean? Arizona can surprise Arizona State. They definitely have the players to do so. I don't know. This Big 12 might be the most fun conference.
Oh, without a doubt it is.
It's just so wide open, especially considering the fact that we thought Utah and Oklahoma State were going to be the teams.
Mm-hmm. We had Kansas
All of a
up there,
sudden,
Arizona.
I'm excited to see how this shakes out. I know you are too. That's going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you let us know your predictions. Big 12 wide open. Okay, let us know your predictions. That is Minx to my right. I'm Coach Bohr, or Montana as they call him. And we are out. Peace.